Ahoy! Guys, I've done it! I've finally done it! I finally lost it! Don't mind the dead bodies, I finally own a Wii U!
Oh, the Wii U, Nintendo's biggest failure that turned what was a powerhouse in the gaming industry into a laughingstock. It was not a great era to be a Nintendo fan. See, while the 64 and GameCube also weren't successful and got crushed by the competition, it still had major fans that look back at it with fondness and cherished memories. Meanwhile, it seems like every person who tried to be a Wii U fan was left traumatized, which makes me very happy that I fell out of video games in 2012, shortly before the release of the Wii U, which led to me not buying it. Yeah, I skipped out on this generation and got back into gaming during the Switch era in 2020. Yet I always had a fascination with the Wii U and some inner dark desire to own it.
And here we are! Now this isn't a video reviewing the console itself or documenting what went wrong. Plenty of people have done that over the years. Instead, I want to look at the Wii U through a retro gaming standpoint. You know, owning an old console so you can play classic games? Basically what owning a Wii U in 2025 looks like. Hey, this looks like a great thumbnail.
Now I know we are in a day and age where so many games are getting re-released and some of the biggest titles from years past are available to play on current hardware, but you see, not every game ever is going to be re-released. Let's take the GameCube for example. While a lot of GameCube games have been re-released one way or another, like Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime, Pikmin 1 and 2, and Wind Waker, it still has plenty of games that haven't been touched yet, and some that might not be and are incredible plays like Luigi's Mansion, Double Dash, Melee, Kirby Air Ride, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, Pokemon Coliseum. All the Mario sports titles from this era were phenomenal, and even the Mario parties. This was the last era where Star Fox got proper fun games, F-Zero's last hurrah, some rare M-rated Nintendo titles, Wario World if you're into that, and who can forget Mario DDR, greatness personified. See, there is a reason to grab a GameCube these days and have a library of titles you can't play on Switch. Now how about the Wii U? Well, when looking through the library of games it had, I often found myself saying the same thing over and over, and that was... already on Switch, 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 and you get the point. The Switch has left absolutely no reason to go look back at the Wii U because it pretty much re-released the entirety of its worthwhile games. Now I get it, while the Wii U failed as a console, it still had solid games that Nintendo worked hard on and didn't want them to be forgotten because of the fact that they were on the Wii U. But at the same time, I hate how it felt like the entirety of the Switch generation felt like half of its games were gonna be re-releases.
But that's besides the point. The Switch didn't leave much on the Wii U, which is already a lot because the Wii U didn't have a lot of games to begin with. So I'm gonna see what it did get left with. Now I'm not gonna look at every single game. What am I, insane? But I'm just gonna instead look at the games that immediately appealed to me.
It feels only natural to start off with Nintendo Land. Nintendo Land was supposed to be the Wii Sports of the Wii U. You know, a tech demo-like game that was supposed to show off the hardware. But unlike Wii Sports, which is bundled with every single Wii, Nintendo Land only came with deluxe editions of the Wii U for an extra $50, which I thought was a silly idea. It was a tad bit greedy on Nintendo's end, but at the same time, I get it. While Wii Sports is very much one of the most influential video games of all time, visually, it kinda looks crummy and cheap, let's be honest. But it's a tech demo, who cares?
Oh god, bad-mouthing Wii Sports might be the worst crime I commit today.
Calling Nintendo Land a tech demo honestly does it a disservice, because it doesn't feel cheap at all. It looks incredible and has a lot of different minigames that are pretty quality and implement the Wii U gamepad very nicely. As I said, it's a collection of minigames that are all inspired by Nintendo IPs, which help add immense charm to it. Nintendo Land has a nice selection of both multiplayer and single-player offerings. The single-player games all utilize different aspects of the gamepad, which include the touchscreen, motion controls, stick controls, blowing on it, and it's got some hits. The Ninja Castle is intense, DK's Crash Course is actually harder than it looks, and Yoshi's Fruit Cart is actually a cute personal favorite. At minimum, other games aren't bad and just worth a one-time playthrough here and there, but a lot of these other ones are really great at trying to grab a high score. But you see, like most Nintendo titles, multiplayer is where it's at. The multiplayer offerings are really good. I can't show you right this instant because none of these bodies seem to be moving to play with me, but guys, let me tell you, I had so much fun with a group of people when we played and tackled Nintendo Land's competitive multiplayer titles like Mario's Chase and Luigi's Ghost Mansion. We do also have a few games that are single player / cooperative multiplayer, and wow, these have so much more to them than just being labeled as mini-games. The Legend of Zelda Battle Quest had different modes with a multitude of levels. This is a little mini-adventure at this point, kinda like how Swordplay Showdown was on Wii Sports Resort. As I look at these games, I realize that Nintendo Land's production value and quality of minigames had it more similar to being a Wii Sports Resort to the console rather than Wii Sports. so I get why Nintendo wasn't initially as eager to throw it into every box like it was with Wii Sports. But damn it, they still should've. End of the day, I think Nintendo Land did a great job showing how the Wii U gamepad can be utilized and act as a second screen. This game can't be ported to Switch because it required both the TV and gamepad for most attractions. It's not a game to buy a Wii U for, but if you have a Wii U, it is something to have because if you aren't crazy about the single player games, the multiplayer is actually really great. Plus, I do like Nintendo Land more than 1-2 Switch. Now I want to switch to the game that almost nearly made me buy a Wii U even though I was on a hiatus from video games, Super Mario Maker. I've told this story before. I was at a Best Buy, saw a demo for Mario Maker and loved it and almost left with a Wii U. Being able to make your own Mario games was a dream come true. Now Mario Maker wasn't ported to Switch and instead just got a sequel, but is there anything left here for us? Well, it was actually really interesting to see that with this Mario Maker, they didn't give you everything right off the bat to customize with. You had to play for a certain amount of real life days before unlocking more enemies, items, tools, etc. But don't worry, the Wii U isn't self-aware. You can easily lie to it and tell it that it is the future and just unlock more things. Still, it's a restriction I'm glad Mario Maker 2 didn't carry over. But you see, Mario Maker's incredible value comes from being able to make your own levels to play across 4 different styles, and also being able to play other people's levels online, which results in endless Mario levels. But the Wii U servers have been shut down, so that entire enduring half of the package is gone. And honestly, I dread on my creativity with Mario Maker 2 that I have no ideas left for 1. The game does still throw original levels at you, which is great and prevents this thing from being totally useless. But even then, I don't know, the game is dead, and if you have Mario Maker 2 on Switch, then there is no purpose to really look at Mario Maker 1. Which is the same thing that will be said about Mario Maker 2 when Mario Maker 3 comes to Nintendo Switch 2. This isn't a critique, it's just a circle of life. Splatoon is next. Ah yes, the big new intellectual property Nintendo introduced this generation. Splatoon was a big multiplayer shooting game and from all accounts, it was a really fun time for people. The Switch has gotten 2 sequels for it, so you know they knocked it out of the park with it. It's a fun premise. You control an Inkling who shoots this goo material that they can swim in to quickly traverse across the battlefield. It's got a fun aesthetic and attitude to it. But as mentioned, Splatoon was a big multiplayer title, and again with the Wii U server shut off, it leaves a lot of Splatoon's attractions unavailable. Even wandering this plaza, everyone I tried talking to either told me to connect to the internet or f*** off. Oh well, thankfully it has a single player campaign where we must make our way across a bunch of obstacle courses fighting off enemies, and it has some really fun and creative ideas. Like how we have to paint this wall so we can swim up it, but there's an enemy lurking that cleans our goo, making it harder. Or these blocks we have to platform across and spray them to make them bigger, but we got enemies that spray them to make them smaller and it gives us some challenge. Along with that, some pretty solid boss fights, and Splatoon is a good time. I could sit and say again how it blows that the online multiplayer is gone, but again, I hate online multiplayer. I know if I did jump into a match, I would get bullied by 10-year-olds and end up hating it. Which is why I'm still not jumping onto Splatoon 2 or 3 until the Switch's server shut down. You know, to prevent me from trying. Yoshi's Woolly World. Now way back in 2021, I played Yoshi's Crafted World on the Switch and absolutely hated it. I thought it was too easy, too mundane, and the soundtrack that was honestly really creepy if you listen to it in the right circumstance. So with all that in memory, I was kinda dreading going into Woolly World, but no. Woolly World is actually a really solid platformer with just the right amount of difficulty, and if anything, difficulty that really picks up out of nowhere that it's almost evil with how rootless the platforming gets coupled with the cheery aesthetic. Woolly World is a 2D platformer, you know, start to the left, make it to the right, don't die in the middle, but like the Yoshi's Island games that came before it, the levels are big and really fleshed out with so many collectibles for us to find. It's a good platform, and if anything, it healed some scars. Now, it's not necessarily a console mover, the Wii U had plenty of 2D platformers and even superior ones, but it's a good one to own. It has plenty of oomph and a genuine charm to it, unlike Crafted World. And as much as I want to give this one props, I'm not totally locked in on it. It doesn't keep my hands glued to the gamepad, but when I do play it, I am enjoying it. It's a title that I look forward to finishing, yet I don't see myself replaying it as often as other games. But still a worthy addition to any modern collection. It's a feel-good, and we always need a feel-good.
But now we jump to the game that I've often heard be considered the best title on the platform.
Wind Waker HD.
Which honestly is a sad reality for the Wii U that the best game on the platform was just a title from 2 generations ago.
But anyway, I'm not gonna knock it though, I love Wind Waker HD. See, I said it a long time ago in a video, but I do know for certain that if I ever play Wind Waker again, I'll buy a whole Wii U before subjecting myself to the GameCube's fetch quest again. And here we are! Wind Waker is an incredible Zelda adventure. It has some of the best combat, is incredibly charming, and has some really solid dungeons. It's just a caveat that its lows really sink the game.
Get it? 'Cause boats?
The sailing is just too much sometimes, and the fetch questing towards the end of the game is so tedious and so annoying that it makes me not want to replay it. But now we arrive at Wind Waker HD, and it's not just a simple remaster, but it also fixes those issues. Not only is the sailing faster, but that fetch questing Triforce sequence was significantly reduced, which for me makes it the definitive version of Wind Waker. Now when it comes to the remaster aspect, it really is a coin flip sometimes on whether or not it looks good. Sometimes Wind Waker HD looks gorgeous and you could really appreciate the visuals. Other times it looks so off. The lighting just makes the game's color balance so wonky. But also, in general, the Wii U version had little tad improvements that make the game a better experience. For one, having the C-map on the gamepad prevents relentless pausing that the GameCube version had issues with. And you can also do inventory management down here, where it took a bit of adjustment because I'm so used to pausing the game to do any. But it is good because it's something you can do while sailing, which also reduces all the sailing time. Also, gyroscopic aiming. I like it. Wind Waker HD was a phenomenal idea. It's truly an amazing adventure that was bogged down by its few issues that made a hardcore Zelda fan such as myself not want to replay it, which bugged me out because I do think Wind Waker is such a feel-good title from every aspect of it. Well, now that's no longer the issue. I'm enthralled knowing I can now replay a version of it that doesn't have a fetch quest towards the end that I'm going to dread and probably not do. I know I keep talking about that quest, but I really need to stress how bad it is. And I know Nintendo knew it too, which is why they reduced it. This is the definitive edition of Wind Waker, and it's totally a title that any self-respecting Wii U owner should have.
And speaking of Zelda on the Wii U, Wind Waker wasn't the oldest Zelda game getting a remaster on the console.
Twilight Princess HD. But you see, unlike Wind Waker, I don't know how necessary this remaster is, cause not only can you already play Twilight Princess on the Wii U via backwards compatibility, but Twilight Princess didn't have any dire issues that need to be fixed like how Wind Waker or Skyward Sword did. The game was honestly damn well near perfection, so really you'd only be getting this for those remastered visuals. But like Wind Waker, it's again a coin flip. Sometimes it looks amazing and I'm impressed by the details on some of the characters' models, but other times the game has this weird sepia-like blur that just gives me an urge to wipe the screen. Plus, Twilight Princess was such a dark and gritty title that the lower resolution kinda serves the game. Some of the same gamepad utilization from Wind Waker, like the map, inventory management, gyroscope aiming. Really, the only thing TPHD added was a pretty sick amiibo, Wolflink. What does it do? Well, not only does it act as a save file, but it also unlocks a new bonus area, the Cave of Shadows. It's just a gauntlet of rooms with enemies to take out. It's not something that's gonna make you go, "Holy shit!" But it's still more than what Tears of the Kingdom offers. At the end of the day, I'm not as ready to fully commit only playing Twilight Princess on the Wii U, mostly because playing it hurts my head.
Oh, let me explain.
So to anyone who doesn't know, Link has always been left-handed, so when they were making Twilight Princess on the GameCube, they kept that tradition. However, when the game was getting ported to Wii, they wanted to implement motion control, and with most of the world being predominantly right-handed, it would have made things a little bit weird controlling a swordsman with your right hand even though he's using his left. So they needed to make Link right-handed, but instead of just reworking character models to accommodate this, they went for the shocking approach and mirrored the whole game. The Wii U version flipped back to the original gameplay, and it feels so wrong. I beat Twilight Princess probably over 10 times and every time was with the Wii version. Playing it like this where everything is flipped just makes my fucking head spin. Everywhere where I'm so used to going left, I have to go right? Now it does have a hero mode that does flip the game back to the Wii-like orientation, which I appreciate as an option. But overall, Twilight Princess is one of the greatest video games of all time, but I don't know how necessary this is. So let's move on to the game that didn't interest me to buy it, yet fascinated me enough to buy it. ZombiU, an M-rated Nintendo title. Oh, that's interesting. Thing is, Nintendo has done M-rated games before on the GameCube, and they were solid titles, so it wasn't a far-fetched idea to think that Nintendo could make a good zombie game. Though I would like to point out how funny it is that the cover is trying really hard to be scary, yet it has this giant zit on its forehead sucking out any fear. But anyway, ZombiU is a survival horror where you play as a random survivor in a zombie outbreak and must follow instructions from some random voice to make progress. Now something that ZombiU was known for was its permadeath feature, where if your character dies, they stay dead and you continue the game as a whole new character, and you can stumble upon the zombie of your last character and kill them to loot back the stuff you had. That's kinda neat. Another thing
Ubisoft
did was really integrate the gamepad into gameplay. See, not only does your character have a tablet to scan or accomplish other tasks with, but whenever you loot, you have to look at your gamepad, taking your eyes off screen so you're not really aware of your surroundings as your attention is now on the gamepad. It's a really good idea for a survival horror game. Plus, the zombies are really challenging to deal with. It takes a while to kill one with a melee weapon, which makes even having 3 on your ass a bit stressful. You can use guns to deal with them quicker, but bullets are valuable, man. Now, is it fun? It's a well-made survival horror that uses the gamepad really well, yet it can still be a little repetitive at times, and the scenery, while fitting, isn't the most exciting place to be at for too long. I like ZombiU, I can't wait to fully dive into it and try to beat it, but I feel like I really need to be in the mood to play it. NES Remix Packs. Aw, look, the disc is an NES cartridge. That's cute. NES Remix was originally 2 virtual console titles on the Wii U that eventually got a physical release combining the 2 games. Basically, it's a collection of NES games, but not really. Instead, it's a whole bunch of little challenges to accomplish, which does add a little spice to some of these classics. And I won't lie, I enjoyed knocking some of these out. I'm overall a fan of classic NES games, and having a new way to play them is pretty neat. But the real attraction of NES Remix for me is seeing some NES sprites in other games, like playing as Kirby in Super Mario Bros. It's got some fun ideas and was a cute niche title that I'm glad got a physical release instead of being lost in the digital ether. It does also have Super Luigi Bros, which is just a Twilight Princess version of Mario Bros and played with Luigi. It's weird, I don't like it. And then a Nintendo Championship mode where you blast through a small gauntlet of challenges and get a global high score. That's kinda useless now. That's all there is to it. If it sounds like I'm underwhelmed, I'm not. It is what it is, and what it is, it's fun. I like this new way to play classics. It's kinda like a crash course on Nintendo history. The last game I'm gonna tackle is one that would have made me buy a Wii U, and that is Super Smash Bros. Or Smash 4 if you prefer. And honestly, this might be a hot take, but my reasons why the Wii U failed as a console is because of 3 reasons. No true 3D Grand Mario Adventure, I don't count 3D World, no new Zelda game, all we got this gen was remasters and a Dynasty Warriors spin-off, and the fact that Smash 4 didn't have a cinematic story mode. The Subspace Emissary was f***ing incredible. Anyone who hates on it is f***ing wrong. Was it rushed towards the end? Yeah, sure, but it was so awesome, all the cinematics of watching all the Nintendo characters team up and battle. Hell, they even had some character arcs like Lucas gaining confidence throughout the journey with the Pokemon trainer, and the whole Ancient Minister revealed to be Rob was so perfectly done throughout the whole mode. They really gave a forgotten accessory from the 80s a whole ass character development. Insane. So many memorable cutscenes, but it lacked a satisfying enough finish. But again, it was the first time anything like this happened, so there was obvious room for improvement, and that the sequel to the mode would be sensational. They didn't f***ing do it with Smash 4 and still didn't f***ing do it with Ultimate. What did we get instead? A dumbass board game. It's probably not bad, but for what it replaced, I will give it irrational hate. Now, I'm not saying that had they done a cinematic story that it would have made the Wii U a success, but it would have made it not as much of a failure.
Oh boy, that was a bit of a rant. Let's talk about the actual game.
The gameplay, phenomenal. It's Smash Brothers. The roster is really good, though it has some odd quirks like just having Charizard over Pokemon Trainer. The stages, phenomenal, though some have these stage bosses that appear, and they are the definition of the phrase, oh, for f***'s sake. God, I miss transformation specials. It feels great feeling so powerful on stage, even if it's just for a couple of seconds. I'm so happy to see trophies in the game, which gives me something to hunt. Massive Orders and Crazy Orders are a cool mode, basically just a bunch of challenges you complete for rewards. Classic is alright, not my favorite iteration of it. Target Smash also isn't my favorite, it just feels like Angry Birds. Something that I thought was a really neat idea that I wish Ultimate implemented, the ability to have custom fighters which let you change the special moves for the characters. I think that's pretty sick. I don't know, I don't have much else to say about Smash 4. It's Smash Brothers, so by default it's going to be good, you should own it. I guess my biggest issue with it is that it could have been more. I'm not gonna knock the modes, they are fine, and I'd rather do all these modes than World of Light, but anytime I think of Smash 4, all I can think of is the potential it had to really shake the world.
And that is kinda all I care to talk about when it comes to the Wii U, and what owning it in 2025 kinda entails. Nintendo Land is a great multiplayer experience, Splatoon, NES Remix, and Yoshi's Woolly World are all fun, solid playthroughs. Wind Waker HD might possibly be my favorite title to own on the Wii U. And with Twilight Princess, even though I said it was unnecessary, it's still Twilight Princess, so it's phenomenal. And Smash 4 is Smash 4. There could be more Wii U exclusives that might be worth something. I stress the word might. But as I think about it now, I don't know how sustainable it is. Nintendo has been a re-release monster during the Switch era, and I don't think it's gonna stop during the Switch 2. So titles like Yoshi's Woolly World and NES Remix, I'd bet my last dollar that those are gonna get ported over. With Nintendo Land, sure it requires 2 screens, but I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to develop an app for smartphones to act as a second screen, and not only make us pay $60 again for Nintendo Land, but also the app! ZombiU, I found out during the making of this video that it's not even a Wii U exclusive anymore. The Zelda remasters? Don't put it past Nintendo to remaster their remasters. With that said, I don't think there's gonna be much left on the Wii U. The Switch decimated most of its library, and I'm pretty confident that the Switch 2 is gonna finish the job.
And yes, there is also the whole charm of playing and experiencing a game on its original hardware. I've beaten Donkey Kong Country 2 on the Switch emulator, but something about beating on the SNES felt more meaningful. Does the Wii U have that? Not really. Maybe it's just a me thing, but playing the Super Mario Bros. U, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, or Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U didn't feel too different. If anything, it was slightly more inconvenient, as where my Wii U was placed was too far from my bed to play it handheld. With the Switch, that's not much of an issue. The Wii U console itself, it's fine, it's pretty much just a Wii with more ass. The gamepad was truly something to behold. At first holding it felt clunky, but then it does quickly melt into your hands, which I believe was the common consensus. These days, however, this thing barely holds any battery charge. It lasts as long as a match. Every time I take it out of the box to play it, it's dead, which is a bit annoying that whenever I do feel like playing it, I gotta wait first or be near an outlet. The Wii U, I don't think will ever be a console to be nostalgic about. It doesn't have many games left to call its own, and the games that are left aren't anything to drop a lot of money on a console for. See, the Nintendo 64 was not a good console, but it still housed the game that was revolutionizing 3D gaming, and the game that was considered the greatest video game of all time. It was a bad console, but with phenomenal games. The Wii U, sadly, was a bad console that had games that were, at best, just great, but nothing earth-shattering.
Is it something to own in 2025? Not really. Unless it's for collection's sake. You know, you want all the Nintendo consoles. Then sure, it felt cool having this. But for something to actively play video games on, I don't know how much worth this thing's got. But damn it, I don't want my Wii U to feel that way. So damn it, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I am the proud owner of a Wii U and will spend a lot of time playing on it.
Stop right there, you sick bastard! Oh, you sick f***. How could you do this? You have no shame.
Is this about the bodies?
What? No! It's about the Wii U.